What is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over 3 things that great Fortnite players do. This video is actually inspired by me watching the Solos World Cup qualifiers over the weekend. I really sat down and tried to focus on some of the not so obvious things that the absolute best of the best Fortnite players do. And even though playing in a World Cup qualifier match filled with 100 of the best players in the world isn't the same thing as playing a normal public match, the things we're going to discuss definitely translate to both competitive and casual matches. It should be an interesting video, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so the first trait that I noticed in a lot of the top players was their ability to understand and predict potential plays that their enemies would make. Let me give you the most specific example of this that I can remember, and when I witnessed it, my first thought was that I needed to talk about it in a video. For those of you guys unaware, Tfue for the last 2 weeks, I believe, has streamed the finals of the World Cup qualifiers with no delay. This is a really risky thing to do because of how easy it is to get stream sniped, but it's so awesome to watch because he basically provides live commentary at times of what his general thought process is when making certain plays. And it made the fact that he actually qualified for the World Cup this weekend so much more impressive. So towards the end of the qualifiers, I would guess around match 8 or 9 out of 10, he found himself in a really interesting position in a super important game. This happened sometime between the middle and end of the match, and he had just killed an opponent who dropped him a ton of materials and really good loot. One of the things that his opponent dropped was a 3-stack of Boogie Bombs. You may think to yourself, well, what's the big deal about that? Boogie Bombs are fun to use, but they're not that good, right? Well, in public matches, and specifically public match duos and squads, they're solid, but they aren't anything too crazy. That's mainly due to the fact that even if you can Boogie Bomb a player, you're still going to need to deal with his teammates, and they'll probably make it difficult for you to line up a clean shot on their dancing friend. But in a competitive solo environment, Boogie Bombs are actually incredibly powerful. All these top tier players obviously have insane shotgun aim, so if you get Boogie Bombed in a close range area, you're pretty much guaranteed to get hit with a pump headshot. It's important for you guys to know that to really understand the rest of this story. So despite how good Boogie Bombs are, especially a 3-stack of them, Tfue's inventory was so stacked as it was that he decided to just leave them. I believe his setup was AR, pump, SMG, 6 minis, and gliders, and with the way Tfue plays, he really loves to hold ultra high ground at the end of games, and having gliders makes that so much better, so he didn't want to give that up. 6 minis are probably the best healing in the entire game, so he also didn't want to give that up. And since it wasn't quite endgame yet, he also wanted to keep his AR. If it happened a bit later in the match though, my guess is that's probably what he would have ended up dropping if he wanted the boogies. So after a little time sitting in that box, he eventually got pushed by another player. I don't recall the exact details of how it happened, but somehow the enemy ended up inside of the box, and Tfue ended up going for high ground. Now, since Tfue had basically made that box his home with the excess materials his opponent dropped, he owned a lot of the walls, ramps, and floors in the immediate area. So what and I'm sure 99% of the people watching him were thinking, was that this was a great opportunity for him to make some sort of a play where he edits down and applies pressure. But then he shared his thought process in the situation by saying this: I don't want to push this guy. If he picked up those Boogie Bombs that were on that dead body, he's gonna kill me. And when I heard that, it literally blew my mind. It really does seem like a relatively simple thought, but it's something that and I'm guessing 99+% of the people watching, never even considered for a second. Is there a chance that the guy, just like Tfue, had a super stacked inventory so he decided not to pick them up? Absolutely. Heck, maybe he didn't pick them up because he just doesn't like Boogie Bombs, or he didn't even see them. But with all the possible outcomes of that fight if Tfue ended up pushing him, one of the most likely is that the player picked up the 3 Boogie Bombs, then he hits Tfue with one of them, and ends up getting an easy kill. In Tfu's case, if that happened, it would have 100% been the difference between him qualifying for the World Cup and not qualifying for the World Cup. Now obviously, that situation with Boogie Bombs on a dead body is incredibly specific and will most likely never happen to you. But the takeaway here is how important it is to think ahead in fights and really try to put yourself in the shoes of your opponent. If you can predict what they're most likely going to do, you'll be prepared for it and have a really good chance to counter it. The next thing on our list that great Fortnite players do is prioritizing consistency over speed. This can be applied to pretty much every single mechanical or even mental aspect of playing Fortnite. For example, building. So many players value building at a fast speed over building in a way that consistently accomplishes whatever you want to accomplish. If you build your first 290s in 1.5 seconds, but then mess up the third, it's going to be a lot worse than building your first 290s in 2 seconds and then doing the third one perfectly. Now obviously, pro-level players are so insanely skilled at building that they can do it with insane consistency and speed. But if you're going to pick one, consistency is definitely the way to go, and then over time your speed will get better and better. It's pretty much the same deal with editing as well, but I would say it's even more important to prioritize consistency there. Since editing takes way more precision than building, it's a lot easier to mess up edit plays if you're trying to make them too fast. So again, being able to consistently make the edits you want to make is way better than doing crazy fast edits, but messing them up fairly frequently. Gun skill and hitting shots also falls in that same category, especially in close range fights, and even more so if you play Fortnite on a controller. I made a full video about a week ago talking about how aim acceleration on controller makes it very difficult to hit any kind of flick shot. Because of that, you want to put yourself in fights where you'll be able to at least have a little bit of time to line up your shots. To consistently hit flick shots and shots that require a bunch of twitchy movement, you're basically going to need pro-level aim. If you don't have that, which 99.9% of players most certainly don't, then those types of shots should be nothing more than a last resort to you. If speed was everything in Fortnite like so many people believe it is, then the top players in the world would look dramatically different than what they do now. We talked about Tfu a little earlier, and I think he's a perfect example of this. Based on all-time accomplishments, you could make a very strong case that Tfu is literally the greatest Fortnite player of all time. His speed when it comes to mechanics is obviously still pro-level, but it's nowhere near the strongest part of his game. There are tons of pros that can build, edit, and flick shot way faster than him, yet so many of them have nowhere near his level of consistency in the most important events. And the final thing that we're going to cover is the ability of great players to track enemy positions and movements in fights. If you guys know a lot about creative mode 1v1s, you may know that being able to track your opponent is one of the most important skills when it comes to being a great 1v1 player. One of the best 1v1 players I've ever seen is Ghost Bizzle. His enemy tracking in fights is just so insane to see. People will try to do all kinds of crazy techniques to throw him off, but he'll somehow always be able to follow where you are. The importance of tracking is obviously not just limited to creative mode 1v1s, and it's probably even more important in chaotic team fights. When there's so much going on around you and people are constantly moving and repositioning themselves, it can become really easy to lose track of enemies. If that happens, you're putting yourself in danger of getting shot from an area that you won't be expecting. Sometimes you'll get lucky and they'll miss some shots so you can reaction build and end up taking no damage, but most of the time you'll get hit by 2 to 3 AR shots or a pump shot and there goes half of your health. Great players are able to basically mentally keep note of where every enemy in the fight is, and then they use that information to understand where they're vulnerable from and where they can safely push from. You'll take so much less unnecessary damage in fights if you're able to master this skill. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down the comment section below. This video covered 3 things that great Fortnite players do, so my question for you guys is this. What is something I didn't cover in this video that you notice great Fortnite players doing? If you guys point out some interesting things that I've never considered, I may even include it in a future video and shout you out. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.